welcome back to the Classic Quest with your boy HSR.
And it's your boy Chris Crow.
And your lady, Bonnie.
So Chris, why don't you tell us what album it is we are doing this week?
Well, for this week's Classic Quest, Holden, we decided to go with Raekwon from the Wu-Tang Clans and his album Only Built for Cuban Linx.
I don't know why you felt the need to bring up this from the Wu-Tang Clan. Like, who doesn't know that?
I don't know. I
shit.
didn't.
Okay. So, Bonnie, when did you first hear about Raekwon?
Well, when we decided to do this album.
So last week.
Yeah.
Okay. So no idea who he was.
Nope.
Did you look him up and come up with fun stuff that you wanted to say?
Well, I mean, things I'll say kind of throughout the review.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yes.
And Chris, did you know who Raekwon was?
I've known who Raekwon was because I know who Wu-Tang was. I just never listened to Wu-Tang or Raekwon. So
Fair. I know his verse on Cream by Wu-Tang. I didn't really know much by Raekwon before, but Chris is completely full of shit because we reviewed a full Raekwon album on the Classic Quest a couple of weeks ago, so I don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Right.
So we
got
reviewed
caught.
The Wild, and
Right.
that happened.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm just a little tired today.
And so here we are now, and we're reviewing this because it only felt fitting to go back in time and see where Raekwon's solo career comes from in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And so, honestly, I don't have a lot to say about it either. I don't know much about Raekwon. I know that he was up to some bad shenanigans when he was younger.
Oh, was he? Sounds
And
like it.
rap was a medium to basically make money. And I think that from what I looked, this album was quite significant in terms of being the first of its kind. One of the first albums to properly express crime in the tier that they did it in, right? The storytelling they told is of a certain actual Scarface. It's almost like they watched a lot of these gangster movies.
Well, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of parts where it's influenced by that.
Absolutely.
Right.
But like they wanted to create like the album that was the soundtrack to that life for them, right? And
Okay.
I just, for me, it was very influential. It went from being like a Wu-Tang feel to like more of a combined effort between Raekwon and Ghostface.
Yeah.
It's worth noting that Ghostface Killah is in fact on virtually every song on this album with a couple of exceptions. So it's kind of like a collaborative effort. They apparently
They're clearly BFFs.
yeah, absolutely. And like from Raekwon's perspective, it was always like a group project. He thought it was just like whatever. It's just like another Wu project.
I bet you they have, because it was like 1995, I bet you they actually have like some like big, you know, like gaudy looking,
I don't think
like
they
broken
did.
heart
No.
things, and one says best and the other one says friends. And I bet you they each have one.
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe they do. Maybe they have matching chains though that have
See?
giant W's on them. I digress.
Wu-Tang.
So this is a long review, and we are three people who don't know fuck all about Staten Island slang.
Yeah.
And this album has a lot of references that I didn't understand. So rather than try to dissect it, I thought about something I'm going to pitch to you live. I chose not to bring it up before this.
Okay.
Keeping us on our toes.
I feel like we're going to cover a lot of Wu-Tang albums, a lot of the different members over this. There's at least like 15 to 20 of them respectively across the list. So this isn't the end of it. What if in the future we do a revisited series where once we're a little more educated and able to keep up with why this shit's dope? This is like our first impression, right? This is what we listen to, and it is dense as fuck. Every time I heard it, there was something else I noticed, but to decode this is going to take some time. So in the future, we're going to come back and we're going to revisit some of these albums as like a fun extra series for the Classic Quest. Where
Do we have to do this one again?
we'll see how it goes.
Oh, no.
But maybe,
no.
maybe Bonnie doesn't show up and Chris doesn't, but I fucking think there's value in it because this is a truly interesting album where if we all understood what the fuck was happening more, we'd all appreciate it differently.
for sure. I mean,
Right.
And that's why I said, if we go through 20 fucking albums of this squad, we're going to understand their language a lot better.
Yeah.
And I think we could revisit something like this.
And
And
by
appreciate
hearing
it more.
like everyone else's music and what's going on at like similar times and in similar places, we're already getting like kind of like this whole feel of what's really going on in these places.
As I understand it, this was deliberately coded into Staten Island's version of life.
Yeah.
And honestly,
Was it Shaolin?
Shaolin is something else. Like when we talk about 36 Chambers Wu-Tang, we'll talk about Wu-Tang and how they got to the Shaolin stuff. But the short version is they're highly influenced by Kung Fu movies, Wu-Tang is a type of martial art, if I'm not mistaken. And so all those little samples that they cut in throughout the album are from some kung fu movie or another that was inspirational to them. I didn't write it down. And I digress. We're going to come back to it in the future, I think, once we know more. So basically, that was to say, forgive us for not knowing half
just
of
beginners.
Why this album is brilliant.
Beginners. Well, at least I am.
I asked a friend of mine today earlier on the net, and I was like, bro, why is this album, like, significant? And he summed it up to me in these words. You've never sold drugs while listening to Incarcerated Scarfaces. To that, I was like, you're absolutely correct. I have never had that experience, but it contextualizes why the album's kind of foreign too. So I like to say, take our review with a grain of salt. We're looking at this to the best of our ability. On that note, it's long as fuck. What did you guys think of the album name?
Well, I didn't really get it at first because I had to, like, figure out what that meant. Like, what Cuban Linx are. And so I looked it up, and I can give you, like, a quote, kind of.
Okay.
So Cuban Linx are a type of chain, and they're one of the toughest chains to break, and according from, like...
Okay.
From Raekwon, like, I guess, he says real N-words, are like strong N-words, and those are the people who wear them because they're really, like, difficult to break. I hope that wasn't what it sounds like.
Okay, but then there's also the double entendre of the drug cartel hookup coded into that title, the Cuban connections links, right? Like,
oh, really?
Like I don't know if that's what he meant, but
I just thought that, like, it meant, like, because they're so hard to break.
And I guess a little prelude, the way the intro flows, I kind of got the feeling, maybe I'm wrong, maybe she's right, Raekwon did say that, but that's what I pictured. I pictured drug cartels and, like, oh, they're done with somebody else and they're ready for this link from, like, Cuba or something.
Well, I think they did, like, go down to, like, the Caribbean, like, to record and stuff.
That did happen.
So maybe like that's also, like, kind of part of their influence for, like, the Cuban Linx.
Oh, I got both. I kind of looked at the album title and was like, Cuban connections, Cuban chains, you built for this lifestyle. I didn't really get...
Okay, let's talk about the cover. I think the cover is really interesting because, as we discussed previously, it's basically both these guys on the cover. Both these guys are predominantly on the album.
Looking pretty...
You look at their
intense
personalities, and you see right away the division of labor between these two men, right? Like, Ghostface Killah is in the back, and he's kind of got the finger guns out ready to go. And he's like the muscle, right, of the operation. He's the strength. He's like that. And then you see Raekwon kind of calmer, standing there like he's the brains of the operation. And if we really run through this album, you're going to see that it's a bit of a motif that comes in. And I think that in light of that, the cover reflects a lot of what's going on. They're just real... They're scary looking. They're exactly what they are. Raekwon's logo is awesome. And I like it. It's cute.
It's cute.
I didn't get much. I just thought, oh, gangsters, cool.
See, Chris, you weren't looking for the nuances of it.
Well, no, I mean, you can see, like, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of how I felt was like, okay, these guys look tough, and they're obviously, like, showing that they're, like...
From that lifestyle.
And they are from that lifestyle.
They're living the life.
That's totally fine. The whole album was produced by RZA, R-Z-A.
R-Z-A?
He's part of Wu-Tang. He produced all of the solo efforts at first, so he's got a lot of influence on what happened there. From what I can tell, a quick anecdote, he was busy making all these albums while everyone else was out partying, and he kind of missed out on all the fun at first.
Aww.
Anyway, you guys wanted to get into it?
Oh, and hold on, one last thing before we do get into it. The tape, because it came out on cassette,
completely worth bringing up.
Right?
Yes.
Was purple.
Yeah.
And so they refer to it as the purple tape because it's distinct, not unlike a drug dealer's product.
And so he wanted to do that. And to be fair, it's still called the purple tape on the internet like 15, 20 years later, and that's really fucking crazy. And I saw it. It's a nice purple.
Yeah, it's a nice purple.
It's really cool. And apparently they tried to press the disc in purple, but the name The Purple Disc didn't, like, catch on. But he kept it over into CD World. And that was pretty cool. And Wu-Tang was like that in general. All of these guys, they were macro level thinking about Brandon shit, like I've been trying to instill into a young Christopher Chrome over here. Alright, so let's talk about the album because it's fucking long. The first song is called Striving for Protection.
Perfection.
Fuck out of New York, you know what I'm saying? Bounce, man. Start fucking with bigger and better shit, man. So you telling me no more Big H? No more, man. No more, God.
Hello, have you got some crack rocks? We would like to buy them. That's probably more legit.
Alright, so this track is a fucking great way to set the tone for this album. And this album has a loose story to it, which they kind of deviate from whenever it serves their purpose. But in general, you can kind of pick it up here and there.
Yep.
Right.
So Raekwon and Ghostface, I believe it is on this one,
yep.
are sitting there having a conversation about how they want bigger and better things, really. And they now know of how the Colombians have been ripping them off. And there's this new connect that they can get access to that will optimize their profit margin, which will allow them to get out of the drug game into something more powerful and interesting, right?
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's called Striving for Perfection. It builds up, it flows nicely, it creates a great context about how they are going to use crime to strive for perfection, and yeah. I appreciated this a lot. This was actually one of those ones where if it came on, I could just bump it, and then if it ended and another song came on, it was fine. It didn't need the next song to be the right one. It was a pretty great fucking intro. One of the best we've come across from my perspective. So
yeah, it's pretty good.
I felt strongly. How about you guys?
I actually like the I got your back, you got my back type vibe. I like the agreement to wanting to be, maybe not be better, but strive for better things and have a better life. Unfortunately, you know, doing crime and having to do that is, I guess, part of their lifestyle at the current moment. But other than that, it was actually a pretty cool setup.
Yeah. And you?
I liked it. I mean, it was very good. It was very intense. It tells you about like what they've done, where they've been, what, you know, things that they've gone through. They mentioned New York, so you already know like where they're at. And drug dealing, and that this is part of, you know, what their life is.
Same kind of.
And yeah, so I don't know. I mean, there's lots of foreshadowing about like kind of what's to come in their lives. So yeah, I gave it a 4.5 on 5.
I only gave it a 4 on 5.
So did I.
I didn't think it was like the next level greatest, but it was good for what it was.
We get it. We're a bunch of knuckleheads. Get over it.
I'm out. My raps play the part like and get smart. Secret agent and amazing. Styles blazing. Johnny blazing. Tony Stark's in the Dayz and rhyming. My nigga Luke Diamond with vibe.
So Knuckleheadz is cool. There was like did you guys learn about the macro element, plot element that they like threw into this song?
Not really. I just kind of got that they're doing a little bit of shenanigans in the area.
So U-God was going to jail, and this was the only song they could get him.
U-God.
Come on, know your Wu-Tang, bro. U-God is a member of the Wu-Tang clan, and along with Ghostface, and so they're both on this song as featured artists. Well, not really featured. They're just a lot of Wu swapping in and out. And U-God was going to jail for XYZ reasons, so they threw him on. And then at the end of this song, a little bit of foreshadowing. There's a car crash and shit, and it's supposed to be that the character U-God plays dies because U-God was going to jail. And Raekwon made sure to bring that up a lot. So I know it's like some like from him, and it was really a good song though. Otherwise, I really like this beat, man. This beat was like fucking really cool.
Yeah.
It was really interesting. It caught my attention. It brought me through it. We see a bit of Raekwon flossing, doing his Raekwon mafiosa type shit. Then you got the fucking Ghostface onslaught, because it just seems like every verse that comes out of Ghostface Killah's mouth wants to punch you in the face with every fucking bar. Not bad. It's just kind of what it is.
Yeah.
Then U-God was a little different. It was kind of there. And U-God...
Well, all U-God wants is money, weapons, and drugs, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and then he dies, so he's kind of out of the story. But we are left with, at the very beginning of the song, there is that discussion about the split of the pay, showing these guys are all kind of whatever. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I gave this a 4. I thought it was a really solid track. It was really good. It was fun.
No, I gave it a 4, the same thing. I thought it was really cool. I thought, actually, I looked at the title and it said Knuckleheadz, and then I kind of got this vibe of just, you know, a bunch of boys just doing a bunch of really, really serious dumb shit in the hood.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is
also
cool.
kind of like tells the beginning of the story too,
Right.
right?
Kind of starts how they get off into this type of lifestyle. Yeah.
Yeah, where they were doing knucklehead
so
type
smart.
shit, and then their friend dies.
Right.
Which. We didn't even,
I gave it a 4 on 5. I really liked it because it referenced Duke Ellington, and for anybody who likes old school, like 1930s, 40s jazz music,
that's really cool.
then that's obviously where they got this inspiration because the piano was really cool.
And Chris, why did
4
you
on
give
5.
it a 4?
Oh, I just really liked. I really liked how they stuck to the title.
I just felt like it was hard to give it a 5 because this really wasn't over the top. It was a lot of raw shit I didn't understand. And maybe one day when... This is where like I feel like the revisit comes in. I don't actually get all the bars. This
Fair
is like
enough.
the first one
Fair
where
enough.
like I kind of went and read all this shit. I didn't quote very much of this album in my notes because I didn't know the difference between why that bar was great or this, you know. I'll get back to that.
We're learning.
So the next track is weirdly...
Knowledge God.
Knowledge God.
Good placing, eh?
In dirt, they had you resting. While I be trapped by sounds, locked behind loops, throwing niggas off airplanes, cause cash rules. Everything around me black, as you can see. Swallow this murder one.
So that was Knowledge God. I'm gonna just start off right now. It didn't really give me much, to be honest. Cool flow, cool. No, to be real, cool flow, cool on point. But it kind of got into the blender effect a little bit because I was just like,
Already?
Hold on. The blender effect is when songs that kind of, as you hear them, they sound the same, and it's hard to differentiate what makes a particular song stand out.
How is it already the blender effect? It's song 3.
I get where he's coming
I just again. I don't
Hold on,
like
just
Holden.
one more point on the blender effect because we didn't fully explain it. It doesn't actually mean a song is good or bad. Like, let's say the first 5 songs in a row were perfect 10s and they all sounded the same. Well, from a review perspective, it's kind of a blender of notes you can take. There's not much you can add to previously, and this album unfortunately brings a lot of that. So, Chris, elaborate, please.
Well, like you said earlier, Holden, we don't know a lot about the slang and how they talk in the context they use their words in. So for me, it just kind of, again, sounded the same. Like, it's not a bad song. It was actually really cool. The beat was really nice. The vibe, I really liked the chorus. They reference...
The hook is fucking fly.
They reference Allah. So I'm thinking that's Allah, which is God.
Hold on.
So
Well, it is.
There are 5 percenters, and I didn't have a lot of time to look into what this really meant, and I think we're gonna revisit what that means in a future album review of one of these guys. I'd like to actually understand it before talking about it. But it's more of a Islamic ideology that they were exposed to, and a lot of that ideology does get reflected in this album, and I don't really get it yet.
Fair enough. That'll be for the revisit episode.
So we can say that this unlocked a lot of Google points for me to go learn shit. So ironically, but
well, keep your knowledge up. But like I said,
dude,
there's
knowledge
not much
God
for
is
it.
really like a metaphor to mean kilograms of coke.
I know.
I didn't.
Did you not click on where it said knowledge God in the annotation? Anyway. So this song is actually interesting to me, right? Because it was one of the few I could kind of decipher a clear meaning in. Yeah. It's also the only one of the only ones without Ghostface Killah appearing on it, so it's just Raekwon. Apparently, the beat wasn't even... Was this the one where I think the beat wasn't even really for him? He just kind of walked in, wrote the song, and took it. So that was an interesting anecdote. And the song's a lot about his dissatisfaction with the attitudes of people. It's a lot of people bitching about being broke, but really just doing drugs and fucking around. And you see that a lot still in all walks of life and all ethnicities. People bitching about their circumstances, but ultimately
never really changing
blowing their money on XYZ thing and not thinking strategically to get to the next level where he's at, where he's trying to get onto this next thing. So if we take the last song, everyone's knuckleheads. And now he's trying to get his knowledge God, his kilograms on, get into some big shit, do some not broke people stuff. And,
even though he knows people who got killed by Colombians, and that's who he's going to be dealing with.
Yeah, and so, like, he presents it kind of like nobody else is being real about this. Everyone's whining, but everyone's a joke. So I really fucking like this one a lot. Like, it was a 4.5 on 5.
Wow.
It wasn't perfect because everything on this album felt a little bit kind of off to me, and I don't get it, but I appreciated this one a lot. 4.5.
I gave this one a 3 on 5.
I gave it a 3.5.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. It was all right. It was just about them, that they're bad and that they're scary. Everyone's scared of them and they know it, and that they're like, why would anybody mess with us? And, you know, just about like that kind of life. And I don't know, it was all right. It sounded cool at the beginning, and you know, it was a lot of Italian influences, obviously. Yeah. So they're talking about wanting to be like the mafia, like the Italian mafia. And so, I mean, you kind of get that. You're learning about...
He's, like, studying the patterns of these successful guys, and he wants to get that knowledge and use it to appreciate.
Right.
It was fucking
great.
So
he's obviously looking for something bigger. Oh, and I liked the way that they kind of played with the speakers at the end. I was listening to it on headphones.
Okay.
And they kind of went from, like, one to the other, to the other, to the other. And, like, that was kind of unique.
Ah, fair enough. All right.
Well, now that you got the knowledge, at least we can check out Criminology.
Dirt, now how you resting? Well, I'll be trapped by sounds, locked behind loops, throwing niggas off airplanes, cause cash rules. Everything around me black, as you can see. Swallow this murder one.
So it's got some of that Shaolin Kung Fu feel of the instruments coming out.
Little karate.
It felt like a little more like a Wu-Tang song than it did.
It sounded like a movie.
It was an actual banger. It was pretty much a banger. I thought it was really cool, really hard. You know, I felt Raekwon, Ghostface, running around in the hood, chilling, doing their shit, doing their thing, gangbanging, and robbing people of their money.
Well, it's a little bit like the science of criminology is the way they're going to finance their operation. Like, they have to do the crime.
Right,
and they have to be ferocious, and they have to be like this because it's going to get them paid.
Yeah.
The beat is amazing, so that was really cool to talk about. I enjoyed it, but I couldn't follow the story as well. It was a little aggressive, like highly aggressive. Like Ghostface took it to one of the most extreme levels of aggressive on this album. And
already?
I don't know, man. I felt like this was one of the more intense Ghost verses for real.
Oh, and I don't know. I felt like after hearing this song that this was probably one of the first. At least, I mean, this is only song 4. But this was the first song. The first song that had both of them together on it, and I was like, wow! I'm like, they really do flow so well into each other.
They do.
Like, it's great.
And you know what? The first time I heard it, I honestly couldn't tell them apart, and it was a little whatever. But the more I listened to it, the more I realized. In some songs,
you're almost like, which one's singing right now?
But no. In all cases, you can see that there's a clear difference between how they rap. Their flows are similar, but really different. Ghostface feels like he's punching you, and Raekwon almost feels like he's bragging / educating you a little bit. Right. And this is really reflected in their like personalities and how they collectively work together to achieve. I think it's a great way to move the story along, but I only give it a 4.
Fair. Same thing. I gave it a 4 as well.
Yeah.
I agree.
I gave it a 4, but it lost points actually for me because like it would have been maybe a 4.5. But oh my gosh, the song just goes on and on at the end, like, and I would have to skip that every time, and it just bothered me.
I can understand that. I've never been a fan of the long ass outros, but whatever. Criminology is a single that had a video where they were bopping around kind of just in a dark room looking kind of scary. There wasn't much noteworthy to it, but it felt Wu-Tangy. And that's okay, because Wu-Tangy is supposed to feel Wu-Tangy, so it fit the motif.
I don't know what that feels like.
We'll get there. You're going to see some Wu-Tang videos at some point. Anyway, let's move on to Incarcerated Scarfaces.
Cool.
Yo, what up, yo? Time is running out. It's for real, though. Let's connect, politic, ditto. We can trade places, get lifted in the staircases. Word up, peace, Incarcerated Scarfaces.
So this song is like an homage to the homies in prison along the way, right? Like, basically, like, everyone here is involved trying to be a Scarface, and this is to the guys in jail, and it's a lot of...
Have hope. You'll get out one day.
You know, I actually found it really cool how at one point I felt like Raekwon was talking to somebody directly, like, this is what happens when you do this type of shit, and this is the consequences. And at the same time, there were certain points where I felt he was explaining it in a general aspect, and it was really cool. Really cool.
It's also the only other song without Ghostface Killah on the album. I thought it was cool that he almost dedicated a verse to, like, Donald Trump. And how he honestly looks at the real estate mogul as a huge inspiration, and how he's showing that it's not just drug dealing. He's trying to find like this inspiration to like fucking make money by any means, and I think it's got a great flow. The hook is actually a fucking banging hook, man. I could see how people were really fucking vibing to this, but I don't understand it. Like my boy told me, I've never sold drugs while listening to this song, so it's hard for me to fully appreciate it. Like I don't have the relationships with the people involved that would have created the empathy points of this song. So upon further study, I'm certain it'll click and be like, oh, I get it. But right now, it kind of drags on a bit musically. It's like
it's got another one of those long endings.
And it's got.
I actually really like this entire song.
I give it a 4 on 5.
I give it a 5 on 5.
The beat is just what it is. It's not bad. It's not great. It's solid. Like, none of this is bad. Don't get me wrong. Bad is not the right word, but it's not like epic to me. Maybe again, I don't have the empathy point, and when we revisit it, and that's why it kind of inspired me. I think I will like this more in a year, but right now 4. So. I don't have a lot to add. It is what it is. It's the same flow. A lot of the same flow on every song.
Right.
Great rhyming and metaphor, which means it's message driven, and I don't understand it.
I gave it a 3 on 5. I just thought it was kind of boring. Like, I get, like what he was saying, and that, he was dedicating this song to his friends in jail, and, that it was talking about the influence of Asian culture on, like, American, like, directors and, like, what they've done with it, and it's kind of cool. But yeah, the song didn't really do much anything for me.
All right, fair enough. And Chris?
Oh, I gave it a 5 on 5. I thought it was a really dope banger. I thought it was fucking vibing. It was really cool.
I can appreciate that. The internet agrees with you more than it agrees with us. So.
But you know what? Sometimes there's rainy days.
That's true.
With a Z.
Back in Union Square when Little Max Mill blast Pierre, that was Bill. Fast forward 94, who got the bad bass? Filthiest fingers scream for more, bless me out of state. Howdy, Jake.
This song is fucking amazing. Like, this changed shit a little bit, right? We see a little bit of something different. And from the story perspective, right, we're talking about his boys in prison, and now he's talking about the hard times, and like, Ghostface is kind of going on about, like, how rapping might not be enough. The royalty checks aren't coming in fast enough. What's he gonna fucking do? And then Raekwon kind of goes on about how he has really, like, regular-ass dreams. And I thought that was super noteworthy. Like, he just kind of wants a house and a family and some kids and a vacation. Right. And he's just got to do all this crazy shit to, like, get out of here. And they're trying to do the right thing, but all these rainy days have their perspective kind of flooded. I don't know, they're trying to create some context here. I thought the beat was gloomy, and I pictured actual and literal storm clouds while I listened to it.
There's rain that you can hear. At different points in the
song.
Her
voice, Blue Raspberry, is very pretty. I like it a lot. It was a really
She
great...
has a very beautiful voice, although I also really like how it's very relatable, too, because it's not just about, like, trying to get out of that lifestyle and trying to get out of where they are, but we all have rainy days. We all get those days where we're trying to strive for our dreams and we just get shit on and fucking dunked down. It's a powerful song. It's really cool.
But the rainy days, it has 2 different meanings. I mean, you guys are only talking about one of them.
Okay, and what did you find out on the internet today?
Well, no, it wasn't today.
It was yesterday.
Anyways, I found out that, it does have to do with, like, rainy days, like when you're kind of financially poor or and you're down on your luck or something like that. But it actually also means when the days are, which is, kind of still relates to that, when it is actually raining out heavily and he can't be out there selling his drugs. So he's losing money. So because of the actual rain.
And it is a big deal to not be able to sell drugs.
So he's losing his money, yeah, but because of actual rainy days.
That's a good catch. I'm happy we have you on the team, Bonnie. Your Google prowess is going to... She is the Rosetta Stone of only built for Cuban Linx.
Well, what did you guys give it?
A 4.
I gave it a 3.5.
It's a 4.
I gave it a 5.
It's another one of those songs where the beat doesn't change, right? And
it gets screechy at the end, and it was so annoying and hard to listen to.
And part of it, it changes a bit.
But it was very bassy, which was fun.
Like, let's say if we were listening to, like, rock music right now, there would be multiple riffs appearing in the song, things it would change to, and these beats are so, like, the same thing for, like, fucking the whole way through.
Blender.
And they're really good for what they are, and I don't hate it per se.
18 of them?
But like, it's just hard to like stick with this song and call it a fucking banger when, like, something like Kendrick now exists, and you come back to this. It's like a novelty, not novelty. It's not the right word. It's like looking back at this legacy album, trying to figure out how the history of what led to a Kendrick happened.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, let's talk about Guillotine, and in brackets, Swordz.
Swordz.
To electrify, with voltage of an ill truth that I reveal across the amateurs who scream, they keep it real. Teaser black down, hoodied up in fatigue. Part-time minor leagues receive 30.
Banana.
I really hate bananas, but I eat them every fucking day at work.
This song comes with more Wu friends.
Woo-hoo.
Yay!
We get the Jizza.
Hold on, I want to tell you about what they each do though.
Okay, it's okay. So there's the Jizza, and there's Inspector Deck joining Ghostface, Killah, and Raekwon on this song that feels a lot more like it belongs on a Wu-Tang Clan album. It was really fucking fun. I like this one.
This is a really cool song. Straight up, it's a cipher. That's what I got from it. It wasn't really an actual track. I felt like it was just...
This is how Wu-Tang writes music, man.
Oh, well, I will see that when we start doing some Wu-Tang
albums. This
albums.
was a cipher. I thought that was kind of just like a song with like the kung fu stuff and.
Right. Well, I don't know that, so I apologize for being uneducated, but I thought this was kind of like a cipher. Everybody had straight bars. Hashtag tell them shut the fuck up.
Oh.
But it is a cool song. I like how they go back and forth and how everybody has their own perspective part.
Kind of just everyone gets their verse.
Yeah.
Not so much back and forth. Bonnie, what do you wanted to tell us?
Okay, so they each kind of like each say their own thing, and so I've kind of summarized what they each do. So Inspector Deck, he was just showing off and saying that he was better. Ghostface, he was just saying that his raps are so intense, and that he's like mad rich, and that he's like the drug kingpin and stuff like that. And Ray from Raekwon. I don't know if you go by. I just shorten it up.
He's the chef to you.
So he's just talking about they're rich, they've got guns, they're badasses. That's just what he's saying. And GZA or Gza or however you want to say it, Gza. He just challenges everyone, and he just knows that he's like super fly, and that's it.
That's it, and it sounds great, and it's a 4.5 on 5 to me. I thought it was a powerful song.
It's a 4.
3.5.
All right. The question really becomes, though, can it all be so simple? Remix.
Illegal forces exchange thoughts, showing love to all my sources. Spades try to bag me like Cagney and Lacey. Chef had that bitch Stacy slipping in Macy's. I doze off, catch a flashback.
Chris, what did you think?
This track, I actually thought it was pretty cool. I liked how they explained what they're doing and why they're doing it and why it just can't be simple. They want to get out of where they are. They want to get out of what they're doing, and it's difficult, and it's pretty much simple like that to me.
I like the beat. It's a lot. When I googled what some of the shit in the chorus meant, that's when I learned they were 5%ers. So, this is a remix. From what I could tell, the original was a Wu-Tang song.
Oh, really?
I guess we'll get to that. I don't know the original. I don't have a lot to say here. It was a lot of the same thing. The beat was a little bit different.
They've got money on their minds.
It's again, Ghostface coming in harder, Raekwon coming in a little more planning-like, and I feel like this is kind of lazy sounding. Like, I don't want to go into it, but what the fuck else can I add here? Like, it's a very much a Blender effect song for me, but it's longer because they have that like more samples, some shit in the beginning, and it was just whatever. 4. I give it a 4 because it's not bad. It's
not a bad
great.
song. It's just it's blended with the rest.
So like this is a great example of a song where if I'd hit random and it came on, I'd totally feel it, but I don't know that like listening to this album in a row is gonna be something I can do very easily until we revisit it. But yeah, it kind of is what it is to me. 4 on 5.
3.5.
4 on 5.
Why 3.5?
It just didn't really do anything. I mean, it was just about him making money. It sounds interesting, but it wasn't unique. It wasn't. I don't know.
Fair enough.
It wasn't my favorite.
All right, so let's move on to the next track, Shark N-Words, in brackets, biters. So this is a conversation between Ghostface Killah and Raekwon discussing how they don't like it when people take their style. And Ghostface made a statement near the end about how if anyone copies him or bites him or a squad style, it's going to create a real big ruckus. And it did. So Action Bronson a couple years ago was on this like sports show and was like, yo, Ghostface is kind of irrelevant. I'm the new thing. I'm taking his style and running with it. To which Ghostface released this video that I'm going to link in the description where he basically threatens him and everything. It's fucking hilarious because he's kind of old now. And I thought it was great, though, that not Raekwon, but Ghostface is so committed to this that all these years later, he was willing to basically put out a hit on this guy over fucking stealing his style.
Oh my gosh.
It was dedication.
Anyway, I didn't really like this. It was just kind of there. I gave it a 3.
Yep. 3. Not much to say about it.
I only had that little story.
We get it. Don't bite bars, guys. Don't do what everyone else does.
Otherwise, they're going to throw you in some fucking ice water.
Engraved rubies, kid, I laced it. My sweet tooth got a nigga dropping, ready for robbing. But first, hit Maria's for butter almond. The bionic microphone is smack mechanic.
This is Ice Waters.
Well, I mean, I think that if you're gonna go back to what he references Allah, it almost, I hope this doesn't come across as like terrible, kind of sounds like a chant, a religious chant, like an Islamic chant. Like that's like that kind of background, like,
I hated
noise.
that sound a lot. Capadonna appears. Capadonna joins Wu-Tang around this point. Basically, he got out of jail. He got asked to come down to the studio, and then he came and recorded this track. And that kind of just happened. So Capadonna's okay. And honestly, it's nothing new. It's the same shit to me. I was so into the blender at this point. Yep. I gave it a 3, and I was like, I got nothing. I didn't like the beat. Like at least if the beat's cool, I can feel the song with whatever.
I actually gave it a 4 on 5 just to be real. I like the message of living in a cold world and living in these type of scenarios. I get it. It blended with a bunch of other shit.
We love you, Chris.
It was.
No, I'm sure
How did you find this message? I don't know.
I didn't find anything. At this point, I stopped paying attention.
Yeah, it's just so blender. No, it's good. It's good.
Means that you did it right. Why are you so bamboozled? Go on about this message.
It's not a really hard message. We understand they live in a really shitty place and a really shit hole, and they want to get out, and they're just metaphorically using cold waters and ice waters to explain their surroundings.
All right, cool. Let's move on to Glaciers of Ice. Get it? More ice.
Syndrome was caused by the deadly drums, but the battle was won by Swordz being swung. Slicing with a vocal from the international vocalist. This style is too local to
So I just want to explain Wu affiliates. So there's the Wu-Tang Clan, and then all the Wu-Tang Clan made other friends that they made like real Wu affiliates. And so 60-Second Assassin is a Wu affiliate. He's featured here, but Master Killah is in the clan. Basically leads us to another song kind of about the same lieu of things, only with a long introduction talking about shoe designs and what they could do to make cool new designs. And at this time, I know that Wu clothing was a big deal, and they were trying to make money off of that. So yeah, I gave this a 4 on 5. It was seriously still in the blender. Not a lot was happening here. The beat was better, so 4.
Oh. It was another song about guns and drugs, and Glaciers. It refers to cocaine. Mm-hmm. I think does ice as well. I mean, snow does. So why can't ice? No, ice is like diamonds, right?
Well, ice is also a street term for meth and speed cut together in a pill.
That's true.
So
I don't know what ice meant in the 1995 in Staten Island, so I'm not guessing.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, I just thought it sounded the same. I found it to be a boring song. I gave it a 2.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
3.
I actually like the production and the rhyming. I like the fact that, like, 60-Second Assassin and Master Killah actually sounded pretty fucking good on it. Like, they sounded different. Anyway, let's talk about some verbal intercourse.
But things I do is real, it never haunts me. Wow, funny style niggas rolling a pal. Rooster heads profile on a bus to Rikers out. Holding weed inside they pussy with their minds on the pretty things.
This song is a pretty interesting moment in music. It's the first time that a member outside of that Wu affiliation I was just describing
Who's it gonna be?
Was actually featured on a song, and it was our boy Nas. And so he drops what is considered one of the greatest verses in hip-hop history, and it's truly divine. Its flow is next level. It sounds like it could have been on this album and anyone else was writing it, and it just shows how Nas almost fits in perfectly with guys like the Wu-Tang Clan, and it was really cool. It was really strong, like for New York and shit. I like this song. I think it's got a fucking solid flow. I feel like the presence of Nas caused the other two to like step their game up a little bit, and I actually gave this a fucking perfect 5. There is nothing wrong with this song. It is fucking amazing.
Wow.
I gave it a 4 on 5. I think Nas's verse was the best verse I liked, and everyone else kind of just, blender effect.
The other guys were actually different on this one. I have to put it down. They sounded more like Nas on Illmatic as opposed to like the rest of this album.
I can see where you get that. I can see where you get that, but I still felt it was just
blender. It's like it's different, but it's still the same.
I don't know.
But no, the beat was pretty solid. Everything about this was great. This was like to me, this is the greatest thing I've heard up to this point.
I gave it a 4 on 5. I did like it. I liked it more than the other ones. And I was wondering like if it was supposed to be like Intercourse, because it sounds kind of with that girl in the background whispering, which kind of is abstract, kind of sounds sexy. And it kind of also made me think of Yoko Ono a little bit, like in like her kind of weird stuff that she does. Like it felt like maybe that influence, and she was a New Yorker, and is, so maybe. Yeah. So I was just wondering.
I don't know.
I just think that all three of them, Nas, Ghostface, and Ray, they all just have the best shit in town, and everybody's scared of them.
And it's really solid. I liked how they all flowed together. I feel like had Nas been on more songs on this album, I probably would have liked it a lot more.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah, anyway, let's talk about Wisdom Body.
Back against the wall, heads clap once I came in the door. I played the speaker, sipping a Killah. Saw this bad bitch with a switch, and I had to step to her in a manner.
At the very beginning, we get some classic what's the word when those black movies, blaxploitation films, where they were like really just a bunch of cult classics off of stereotyping blacks in ways like the pimp character and shit.
Oh.
Right.
And that's kind of like that intro's pulled from one of those movies. And then it's a very personal story from Ghostface about some girl he knew. And Raekwon's nowhere to be found on this one.
Yep.
And
completely gone.
It's okay. It's a nice song. It's very like...
Well, it's just about him meeting, like the story of him meeting this girl.
But it's a lot more different than, let's say, the rest of this album. It's a little more personal, a little more
I mean, it was
intimate.
good.
I give it a 4 on 5. I thought it was definitely not a blender effect experience.
No, it's a really good song. I like the vibe to it. I like the way it was presented, but I don't know. I didn't really have much to say. I liked the way it was. I liked how it sounded. I could play it again. It was a 4 on 5 for me as well.
Yeah, it was like one verse. It was just kind of long. It had its little thing. It wasn't much to it. Apparently, Raekwon had actually written a verse for it, and they wanted to record it. But then RZA was like, nah, dude, this is too personal for Ghost. You got to let him do this on his own, and that's just how it's going to be.
That's cool, then.
And that's why it's kind of a little shorter, and it's short, sweet, and nice. Anyway,
I gave it a 3.
Okay.
It was okay. It was good, but nothing great.
So, moving on this really long album that's kind of a lot of the same, Spot Rusherz.
With his head.
For selling, word up, pushed up, man got mushed up. Seen him at a rap show, acting like fat cat though. Glasses gold, shining like a real big boy. This nigga had mega ice on.
See, yeah, we're back into that blender.
Yep.
Back into running up on the spot, taking what's yours, territorial.
Get, like, fucked up and rob somebody and rush the spot, and
now you have to know where you can go being flashy.
Gang.
And I guess that's true. It's worth noting that they give a cautionary tale to people who like to floss their wealth. And this is something I've seen from a lot of the real gangster rappers, like the ones who actually did some shit. They all kind of put it out that, like, if you floss with your Gucci belts, we're going to rob you. And I think that's what it's kind of is about. It's about being like, look, if you're going to make all this money, be smart about it.
Yeah, don't
worry.
go places where you shouldn't.
Don't have expensive watches. Don't come into my hood showing about what you got, because we're going to fucking take
I'm pretty
it
sure
from
that's
you.
exactly what they're talking about in The Lion King. He's like, don't go over there. Don't do it. You'll be in trouble. And that's like the same time when this album came out. So, coincidence?
Yes.
Interesting.
So yeah, no, I thought it was okay, but a little bit boring, to be honest, at this point. I gave it a 3.5 on 5.
I gave it a 3 on 5.
2.5.
It was a little more than that.
Bonnie's just like, fuck this.
Yeah, bland.
But it was a little more than bland. There was almost like a different subject matter brought to the table. I thought that was cool. Anyway.
Ice cream. Ice cream.
Rap niggas get all up in your guts. French vanilla, butter, pecan, chocolate deluxe. Even caramel sundaes is getting touched and scooped in my ice cream truck. Who tears it up?
So Method Man is on this song, and that's cool because, as I've said before on the Biggie review, whenever Method Man says fucking anything, it sounds cool, and that chorus is fucking great. They're going on about the different ice cream flavors they consume, and we find out a little bit later on as the remaining boys, Capadonna, Ghostface, and Ray Ray, tell us of the various ladies they like to fuck.
It's the ladies.
Yep.
And they got a video going on where Method Man's in an ice cream truck, the different Wu guys are all around, they're all fucking showing these girls with the different skin colors and shit. And it's a really fun song. I have to admit, it's so fucking fun. It was clearly written to be a single, as it was. It was safe enough to probably get
Well,
onto
it's very
the
innocent
radio.
sounding.
I gave it a straight 5 on 5 for everything. It was catchy. It was funny. I enjoyed it. I liked how they made that metaphor, and you know what?
It's not a 5. I mean, I feel like the verses were kind of a lot of the same thing, but with each guy doing what they do, their own unique perspective on the
5.
exact same thing.
Okay.
Had
Stick with
Method
your
Man
number.
had a verse.
Oh no, I'm sticking with my 5.
Listen, Method Man, I wish there was more of him on it. Like, I wish he actually had a real verse on it, not just the hook. And it kind of dragged out a bit at the end. It was the hook over and over and over again. It was a 4 to me. It wasn't like the greatest song. It was the funnest song on the album, not the best song on the album.
Well, I'll just go down like I always do. I gave it a 3 on 5. I mean, it was good.
Seriously, her
but...
notes say some shit like, what the fuck is this? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah. I don't know. It wasn't for me.
I guess it's hard sometimes to listen
but
to
I like
songs.
that they referenced Shirley Temple.
It's not the best way. So we have 3 more songs left for us to discuss on this album. It's been a bit of an adventure so far. But really, when we think about it, let's talk about Wu-Gambinos.
Wu-Gambinos!
Scriptures hit the body like sword or shoddy. Like my hair naughty and my nose piece snotty. Fuck a nigga hottie, that whole pussy probably burn like the deserts of Mugabe for red.
Okay, so I had high excitement. In the last segment of the song we just did, I expressed desire to hear more Method Man.
Right.
Win.
That was given to me on Wu-Gambinos. This felt like a Wu-Tang Clan song.
Yes.
For real.
And I like all of them. And I don't even know what they sound like.
It had Master Killah, it had Method Man, it had Ghostface, RZA was producing. To them kind of stating a verse. Meth does a little short chorus. And if you even look at the classic jam, Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with. It's really like 2 lines. It's like, if you want beast, then bring the ruckus. Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with. That's the whole thing. So it kind of fits into that theme. Verses, It's fucking solid. It's got the right kind of beat. I enjoyed this. I felt like it kind of picked me up at this point in the album, and it was a lot more serious and interesting to listen to than Ice Cream was.
Yeah.
I gave this a 4.5 on 5. I thought it was amazing. And RZA's flow.
He was really cool, and this is the first time we get to hear him.
Best verse on the album. Like, was really not. That's not Nas.
Yeah.
Like, this was really, like, for me.
He's
kinda
faster.
Had some
He
chopping,
spits harder.
It kind of hit it right, and the knowledge. Like, he actually writes like he reads fucking books, and him and I could have a philosophy conversation.
No, it's very
on some
in depth.
shit.
I really like how they presented themselves on this song. It was really, really cool. I like the whole gangster vibe when they do it again. It did kind of blend in, but it was okay. It was okay.
It's good. It's telling about their reality.
They're Gambinos.
Right.
How is this song going to be anything other than Wu-Tang being Gambinos? So, like, top level
It's all about
making
making money,
They were
selling
saying that on
drugs,
the other
being
tracks.
violent.
In the other songs, they were talking about a lot of the rise of getting there. You can't, like, neglect the fact that there's been a story along the way, right?
Fair.
So you've come in from being Knuckleheadz to
Yeah.
this, and then to studying, to all this Waters of Ice. This is where they're moving shit. Then verbal intercourse, they're getting better. Then some girls get involved, and they rush the spot. Then they have lots of sex and ice cream. Like, some of these songs just feel like they were squished in for some reason. But then back to the story, Wu-Gambinos is like, look, we're now approaching this top level. We are really achieving. We are the fucking greatest, blah, blah, blah. And it's kind of a nice crux of this. And it seems like it could have been a great place to end the album, if you want my opinion. But
It kept on going.
Still, 4.5. It's really fucking strong. I really like this one. This one had a lot more effort put into it than other ones.
I also gave it a 4 on 5. It felt a little bit long at the end, though.
That's alright. It's nothing like heaven and hell.
Nope.
Meet me at the airport. Tell Golden Arms maintain a fort. Get in touch with that West Coast Cali crab and staff. And meet me at the big slab. So
I didn't really understand this song. I actually, what I got from it was just depicting both sides of heaven and hell, the good and the evil. That was really it.
Well, what was really cool is how they went back and forth in like verses, kind of like an Eminem and Dr. Dre thing.
Yeah.
But it's really just it's kind of saying like, how can we find heaven when we're living in hell, right?
Okay.
Like that was at the end. Apparently, Capadonna and Raekwon had written that back in the day, and then they kind of built this song around it. So this predated the album. It was kind of released as a single before. It was the first taste of Raekwon as a solo artist. And
we get some Blue Raspberry again, and she's decent.
It was really just kind of a melancholy look at the struggle of what they've been dealing with, and I appreciated this track a lot. Again, it's slower actually, so it's actually different. It's less aggressive and more pensive, and you've got the way they kind of bounce off, questioning each other and interacting with each other. And I just picture trying to write this song and how hard it would fucking be. And I listened to that beat and it was nice. It got me engaged inside of it, and it was completely like left field for this fucking album. It was so weird to hear it at this point, but I loved it a lot. I gave it a 4.5 on 5. It wasn't perfect, but it was a very strong track, and for like the almost 5 minutes it is, I didn't get bored. I was like kind of happy that this came.
I gave it a 4 on 5.
Nothing else.
No, that was it. That's what I got from it. That's how I felt about it. It was just the depiction of both sides of living in one and accepting the other. It was just a 4 on 5 to me. It would have been a
5 if the outro was shorter.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah, well, I gave it a 2 on 5.
What? Why?
Yeah, I was bored all over again. I felt like this song just sounded like a mess. Like it was not, I didn't like it. The only thing I could kind of take away from it, like my interpretation of like the heaven and hell was that they were going through, is that these people were actually dying so that they could maybe get to heaven, because what they're in is hell and it's just awful, and like maybe like that is their escape. And so I mean it obviously is a very gloomy, dark song, but yeah, definitely, I don't know, not my favorite.
All right, fair enough. So that leaves us with one more song on the album, which is North Star Jewels.
Crazy, day one in my spot, July the 10th, I had a mint. Sticking up the vines, hitting them with nines. I was toxic from laying up with Roxy's all night.
Fact, Papa Wu was up in this bitch. Papa Wu talks to him, he's like, whatever. And then another fun fact, it's Old Dirty Bastard's voice who's singing out the words in the back of this track in the background. This is like Raekwon thinking about this murder he committed once upon a time, feeling some guilt over it, reminiscing. And I was so fucking confused by how this song is the end of this album. I don't understand it, really. It's nice, I guess, but I didn't really like it. That intro was like fucking long. The outro part's also kind of long. No offense, Papa Wu, but
yeah.
Listen, 3.5 on 5. It's kind of good for what it is. It's not great.
I also gave it a 3.5 on 5. At this point, I was just so over this album, like so over it. Yeah, and the only thing I liked at the end was the very last quote or lyric was, "For no man is good and bad at the same time. Either you good or you bad." And so I think that it's interesting. It's like he doesn't want people to judge him. It's up to him to decide, you know, if he's being good or if he's being bad, if he's sinning or if he's not. So again, it's sort of like a religious context, you know, and it's that he's got a relationship maybe with God and that he's figuring that out, and you know, he's gonna get through it.
Well, I also gave it a 3 on 5. I was also done as well. There wasn't really much to it. Both outros really did suck, and the intro as well.
What? It was not like sucky. It was just pensive and reflective and weird. And suck is like it's bad. It served its purpose.
Yeah.
How did it not serve its purpose?
I don't know. I guess, honestly, I was just kind of glad it was over, and I just wanted to get it over with.
This is just an example of you two didn't like the album, so you were like, fuck, it's the last song.
Well, no. I mean, I found something good in it, and I still gave it a 3.5.
Still, 3.5 is pretty solid. 3.5 on 5 is what I give it. That's the end of this album. It's strange. I know I'm going to listen to it again. I know that it's not the end, because I want to understand it. I feel like when I brought it up, I was told there's a lot of metaphors on this album. And if you really look at how compounded all the flows are, it is a lot of metaphors and a lot of rich bars. And to give all credibility and fairness, if this was rapping about shit I understood, and it was really densely, thick, layered, beautiful language, I'd probably love it, even if it was 18 songs of the same thing.
It should be accessible to people. Like, that's how he's going to get his audience,
That's not
right?
entirely true. I mean, you write in the language you know, and even if I come at it with full English now, if I used any kind of slang or anything of today and now, even
like, we're gonna get like the gist of it, but there's lots of little things that we won't get, and like, without the internet, like, how could we figure this out?
That can be said about virtually anything that's related to it. So if I write a song about any industry I work in, and I rap about any of the jargon related to any jargon ever used in anything, then is dated based on that idea. So this is.
No, I'm not saying it's dated. I'm just saying.
On top of that, if you're in a world like theirs, it's about speaking in a language they understand. Just like if I write some shit that's geeky, like, everyone who's not geeky is not gonna get it, and that's just kind of how it works, right? So it's a matter of everyone else needs to kind of go and learn their language is what they're doing. I don't know. I thought it was really cool. It was like this defined a lot of slang, and Raekwon has apparently been bragging about shit for ages. Oh yeah, I'm sure it did. Either way, I thought it was worth a 3.7 on 5. To me, it's not a classic. It's a strong album, but it's not a classic.
No, mine got a 3.8.
Mine got a 3.2.
Fair enough. At least y'all thought it was solid enough to get 3 on 5. That's a good mark.
Yeah.
It's not actually bad. Jeez.
I think this is probably the lowest one I've given.
It's definitely not the lowest I've touched, but it's just not a classic to me.
No.
So next week we're gonna talk about Bone Thugs and Harmony, East 99 Eternal. And
I've been loving that album.
So I've loved it for ages. Bonnie's about to tell us now. I haven't heard about it before.
Yeah, I'll figure it out.
So on that note,
it's 1999.
We'll catch you next week. It's been fun. Like, subscribe, share. Let us know how you feel and all that shit.
Comments.
Let us know. Teach us something, but mostly me, because I don't know anything.
Yeah, teach us. Like, I knew what Jakes were because of a friendly fellow on the Elmatic review. So when that came up on this, I knew it. Tell us, educate us, so we can revisit this one day.
Yeah.
Peace.